Okay, so I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what is setting up across the Midwest today, I have not seen conditions like this in a long time. We are not talking about a few pop-up storms. We are not talking about a watch box that expires quietly by dinner. We are talking about a full-scale tornado outbreak, and the window for this thing is already opening. I've been watching the models all morning. I've been watching the shear profiles. I've been watching the instability numbers climb, and everything, every single ingredient, is stacking up in the worst possible way for people living across Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky today. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything. The exact areas at risk, the timing hour by hour, what kind of tornadoes we could be looking at, and what you need to do before this thing gets going this afternoon. Let's get into it. First, let me just set the stage for you so you understand the scale of what we're dealing with. This isn't a localized threat. This isn't one county or one metro area that needs to be on guard. The severe weather risk today stretches from northeast Texas all the way up into Wisconsin. That is an enormous corridor. And inside that corridor, there are specific zones where I am genuinely concerned about what we're going to see. The Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk. That's a level 3 out of 5, covering central and southern Illinois, most of central and eastern Missouri, and down into northwestern Tennessee. That enhanced risk means we are expecting numerous, widespread severe weather events. Not isolated, not scattered. Numerous. Outside of that, there's a slight risk extending from southern Wisconsin all the way down into Memphis and Nashville, and a marginal risk pushing even further out from western Wisconsin into central Mississippi. The whole region needs to be paying attention today. But those of you inside that enhanced risk zone, you are in the bullseye, and I need you to take this seriously. Now let me explain to you why today's setup has me more locked in than usual, because I get asked all the time. You talk about severe weather a lot. What makes today actually different? Here's what makes today different. 3 things have to come together to produce violent, long-track tornadoes. You need atmospheric instability, that's the fuel. You need wind shear, that's the rotation. And you need storms that can stay organized and discrete long enough to actually use those ingredients. Today, we have all 3 of them screaming at the same time. The instability values are extreme. We're looking at CAPE values, that's the measurement of how much energy is in the atmosphere, that are off the charts for this time of year. The atmosphere is essentially a loaded gun right now, and all it needs is a trigger. The wind shear is just as impressive. We've got winds changing dramatically, both in speed and direction as you go up through the atmosphere. That's what gives supercell thunderstorms their spin. That's what takes a regular thunderstorm and turns it into a tornado machine. And here's the number that really caught my attention this morning, our significant tornado parameter values. This is a composite index that meteorologists use to assess how favorable the environment is for significant tornadoes. Values above 1 are noteworthy. Values above 3 are serious. We are looking at values above 5 across a massive area stretching from Texas all the way into Illinois. Above 5, in a corridor that includes St. Louis. That tells me that any supercell that can stay discrete this afternoon, any storm that doesn't get eaten up by a cluster or a line, is going to have a near-perfect environment to produce a strong, long-track tornado. Let me be direct with you about the tornado threat because I don't want to sugarcoat this. We are expecting several tornadoes today, not 1 or 2, several. And within that, there is a real possibility of intense to violent tornadoes, EF3 and above, in the highest risk areas. The region I am most focused on right now runs from the St. Louis metro area down through Springfield, Illinois, and into southern Illinois and western Kentucky. This is the zone where the environment is most favorable, where the shear is tightest, where the instability is highest, and where discrete supercells are most likely to fire and stay organized. If you live anywhere near St. Louis, Springfield, Carbondale, Paducah, I want you to have your tornado action plan ready before noon today, not at 3 o'clock when storms are already going up. Now, the other area I want to highlight is down toward Little Rock and Arkansas. I think there's a legitimate chance the tornado risk expands further south than what the current outlooks are showing. I expect we'll see upgrades to the threat in that area as the day goes on. Fort Smith, Little Rock, even down toward Texarkana, pay attention today. And for Kentucky and Tennessee, your risk is a little more skewed toward the evening hours, but it is real, especially as that line of storms pushes through later tonight. There could be embedded tornadoes in that line even after 9 or 10 p.m., so don't let your guard down just because it's dark outside. The tornadoes are obviously the headline today, but I don't want people sleeping on the wind and hail threat because it is significant. On the damaging wind side, there's a 45% probability of damaging winds within a 25-mile radius if you live near Springfield, Illinois, or St. Louis. That's nearly a coin flip. We're talking winds of 60 to 80 miles per hour, And once that line of storms develops later this afternoon into the evening, those winds are going to cover a very wide area very quickly. This isn't just a trees down situation. At 70, 80 miles per hour, you're looking at structural damage. Roofs, power lines, anything that's not secured, and widespread power outages that could last for days. And the hail, some of these early supercells this afternoon are going to produce hail up to 3 inches in diameter. That's apple-sized hail. I cannot stress enough, if you can get your vehicle into a garage before these storms arrive, do it. 3-inch hail will absolutely destroy an unprotected vehicle. It will go through windows, it will dent metal. Don't learn that lesson the hard way today. Okay, let's talk timing, because this is what everyone needs to know. When is this thing actually going to affect your area? Right now, this morning, we already have a line of thunderstorms pushing through Missouri and into Illinois. There are also some storms down in Kentucky. These morning storms are actually a bit of a wild card, and I'll explain why in a second. From about 10 to 11 a.m., we're going to be watching for an increasing tornado risk, especially over in western Kentucky. There could be a storm in that area that becomes a tornado producer, even during the morning hours. And near St. Louis, the risk for damaging winds and possibly a tornado starts to elevate during this window too. Around 1 p.m. is when things really start to ramp up. Supercells are going to be firing in Kentucky and Tennessee. Those storms will be capable of large hail and a strong tornado. And the storm cluster continuing through Illinois and Indiana is going to be something we're watching closely. 3 to 4 p.m. This is peak time. This is when I expect the most intense activity of the day. We are going to have a lot of supercells up simultaneously across Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky. Any of those storms that can stay discrete, that can hold together without merging into a cluster, is going to be in a prime environment for a strong, potentially long-track tornado. If you're in that enhanced risk zone, I want you to be sheltered up and weather aware by 2 p.m. Don't wait until you see a warning on your phone. Be ready before the first warning ever goes out. By 5 p.m., we'll have supercells all around the St. Louis area. Western Kentucky is still going to be extremely active. This is still the prime tornado window. Then around 6 p.m. is when the nature of the threat starts to shift a little. A line of thunderstorms is going to develop near St. Louis, western Illinois, and Missouri. That line can still produce tornadoes. Brief spin-up tornadoes embedded within it, but the bigger threat from that line is going to be those damaging straight-line winds, 60 to 80 miles per hour, over a very wide area, moving fast. Any discrete supercells that are still holding together out ahead of that line, in Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, those are still your tornado producers at this hour. 8 to 9 p.m. Storms start firing in Arkansas. If you're near Little Rock, Fort Smith, or anywhere in that region, this is your primary window tonight. All hazards. Tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. Have your warnings ready. 10 p.m. through midnight and into the early overnight, the threat continues through Kentucky, Tennessee, and into Mississippi. Damaging winds will be widespread, and there will still be embedded tornadoes possible in that line before we transition into Tuesday. The tornado threat should be very low after about 2 a.m., but the wind threat continues. Let me circle back to something important because I mentioned it and I don't want to gloss over it. The morning convection, those storms that are already out there right now, they matter a lot for how the afternoon plays out. Here's why. When you have a line of storms in the morning, they do two things. They stabilize the atmosphere by raining out and cooling the air, and they can create outflow boundaries. Essentially invisible lines on the surface that can either kill off afternoon storm development or supercharge it, depending on where they end up. If this morning convection clears out quickly enough, we are going to see extreme destabilization this afternoon. The atmosphere is going to recharge fast, given how much warmth and moisture we have in place, and that rapid recharge is what leads to explosive supercell development and a very high-end tornado day. If it doesn't clear out, if we've got too much cloud cover and stable air lingering into the afternoon, the overall number of tornadoes may be lower, but the environment is still favorable enough that we will still see significant, severe weather. Either way, today is a dangerous day. The morning convection might change the ceiling on how bad it gets, but it doesn't take the threat away. And before I wrap this up, I want to briefly touch on Tuesday because we can't ignore it. The severe weather threat does not end today. Tuesday is shaping up to be another active day across the lower Mississippi River Valley and into the southern plains. The risk area for Tuesday runs from Dallas and San Antonio up through Nashville and Knoxville. The main threats for Tuesday are going to be large to very large hail and widespread damaging winds, probably 60 to 70 miles per hour in spots. But there's also a 5% tornado probability that includes the Dallas-Fort Worth area and extends into southwestern Arkansas. And we've got a 2% tornado probability from Alabama back into Texas. The timing on Tuesday is tricky. Storms will fire around lunchtime and they'll try to stay discreet for a little while. And if they can, we're talking tornadoes in northeast Texas and near Dallas-Fort Worth between roughly 2 and 5 p.m. But these storms are expected to upscale into messy clusters pretty quickly, which is why the wind and hail threat dominates the outlook. Watch for updates on Tuesday. The tornado threat there could increase if the storms stay more isolated than currently expected. Okay, let me leave you with the most important part of this video. What do you actually do with all of this information? First, if you are in Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, or anywhere in that enhanced risk zone, you need to have a tornado action plan right now, not this afternoon. Now, know where you're going if a warning is issued for your area. Lowest floor, interior room, away from windows. If you're in a mobile home or manufactured housing, you need a plan to get to a sturdy building. A mobile home is not safe in any tornado, regardless of intensity. Second, make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings. Your phone's wireless emergency alerts should be on. Download a weather app that gives you location-based alerts. If you have a no AA weather radio, have it ready. Don't rely on any single source. Third, don't wait for a warning to take action. Warnings give you minutes. Have your plan in place before the first storm even develops. Fourth, charge your devices now. If we get widespread damaging winds like we're expecting, power outages could be widespread and last for days. Charge your phone, your battery packs, anything you need. Do it now while you have power. And fifth, stay informed. I will be live this afternoon with full storm chaser coverage across this entire threat area. We're going to track these storms in real time, bring you the latest updates as conditions evolve, and make sure you have the information you need to make smart decisions for your safety. This is a serious day. Treat it like one. I will see you live this afternoon.